I'm so happy because it looks like there's a new couple in Hollywood. Aaron Pierre, that's Teyana. They have been spotted together several times recently, but they seemingly made it official after the Oscars. So they both posted these pictures.
There are some moments that make even the most hardened people pause. Moments when the truth comes out in a way so raw and simple that nobody can ignore it anymore. This story begins with one of those moments. It wasn't a grand press conference or a carefully worded statement on social media. It was just a little girl, sitting in her bedroom with her knees pulled up to her chest. Her voice no louder than a whisper as she said the words that would end up shaking everything around her. She looked straight into the eyes of the person she trusted most and said, "He pretends to be nice. He's not." Those 7 words traveled further and faster than anyone expected, and by the time the sun came up the next morning, the world had already chosen sides. People had always watched Teyana Taylor's life with fascination. She was the kind of woman who carried herself like she was unbreakable. She built a career on talent and grit and never pretended her journey was perfect. When her marriage to Iman Shumpert started to unravel, she did her best to protect her daughter from the fallout. She didn't post angry rants or drag her ex in public. Instead, she focused on trying to build something stable out of the wreckage. That's what made Aaron Pierre seem so appealing. He came into her life at exactly the moment she needed reassurance, when she was exhausted from fighting and ready to believe in the idea of a fresh start. For a while, it looked like he might be the man to help her rebuild. But behind closed doors, things were never quite as simple as they looked on Instagram. At first, the people around Teyana thought Aaron was polite, maybe even shy. He didn't try to dominate conversations. He hung back when photographers showed up. He never acted like he was trying to replace Iman as a father figure. That quiet demeanor made everyone think he was harmless, maybe even exactly what Teyana needed. Someone steady, someone who wouldn't add more chaos to her life. But the thing about people who stay quiet is that sometimes you don't realize they're quietly watching everything, making silent judgments, deciding what they want to control. That's the version of Aaron that started to show itself more and more over time. It started in small ways. Teyana's daughter would get home from spending the weekend with Aaron and Teyana, and her little shoulders would look tense. She didn't say much, and at first, nobody wanted to push her to explain. Children can be sensitive, especially when their parents are splitting up. Maybe it was just too many changes all at once. That's what everyone told themselves. But every time she came back, there was something about the way she looked at Aaron that didn't feel right. Like she was trying to decide which version of him she was going to get that day. One of the first real signs that things weren't what they seemed happened at a birthday party. It was supposed to be a small gathering, just family, a couple of close friends, and a cake with pink frosting. But when Aaron thought the little girl was being too loud, he scolded her in front of everyone. His voice wasn't raised, but it was cold. He told her she was being disrespectful, that she needed to behave properly if she wanted to live in his house. Teyana tried to smooth it over, wrapping an arm around her daughter's shoulders and telling her it was okay. But you could see in the little girl's eyes that something had shifted. Later that night, when Teyana tucked her in, she asked in a small voice, "Can I go home with Daddy next time instead?" Teyana felt her heart twist in her chest because she knew exactly what her daughter meant, even if she didn't have the words to explain it. After that night, it felt like everyone was walking on eggshells. Teyana didn't want to start another war, not after everything she'd already been through. She wanted to believe that Aaron was just stressed, that he would adjust to life with a child around. But the tension only grew. And every time Aaron smiled in front of other people, her daughter's face would go blank, like she didn't quite recognize him. There were moments when Teyana would walk into a room and find the two of them sitting in silence, Aaron scrolling through his phone, and her daughter staring at the floor. The breaking point came when the little girl finally spoke up to someone who wasn't her mom. It happened in a counselor's office at school. The counselor had been checking in regularly ever since the custody arrangements changed. That day, she asked if there was anything on her mind, anything that felt too big to carry alone. The little girl hesitated, then said in the quietest voice, He pretends to be nice. But he's mean when mommy isn't looking. The counselor asked what she meant, and she explained that Aaron would tell her she was messy, that she was disrespectful, that she was too much like her father. She said he would take her tablet away and say she didn't deserve nice things if she couldn't behave. She said he would smile at her mother and then look at her with eyes that felt cold. The counselor documented everything and, by law, had to share the report. That's how it ended up in the hands of Teyana's legal team. Someone inside the circle leaked parts of it, maybe thinking it would protect Teyana. Maybe they believed the public deserved to know what was happening behind the scenes. Whatever the reason, the moment that report hit the internet, everything erupted. People who had once praised Aaron as a good man started deleting their supportive posts. Comment sections filled with outrage. Fans reposted screenshots of the child's words with captions that said, "Believe her." Others demanded that Teyana leave Aaron immediately. Teyana stayed silent for 2 days. Insiders said she was in shock, that she had spent hours crying and blaming herself for not seeing it sooner. She didn't want to believe she had brought someone into her daughter's life who could make her feel so small. When she finally posted, it was a single sentence on her Instagram story. "A child should never feel like they need to pretend everything is okay." It was enough. The message was clear. She believed her daughter. Aaron tried to do damage control almost immediately. He put out a statement insisting that he loved Teyana's daughter and had never treated her with anything but respect. He said any perception of unkindness was a misunderstanding. He claimed he was only trying to help instill discipline in a household that he felt was too permissive. But the more he talked, the worse it sounded. Fans tore into him, calling him manipulative and accusing him of gaslighting the child. Even people who didn't know Teyana personally were infuriated. It didn't matter how carefully he worded his statements. Once you hear a little girl say, "He pretends to be nice," you can't unhear it. The person who couldn't stay silent any longer was Iman. For months, he'd been careful not to publicly criticize Aaron, even when he disagreed with how things were being handled. But this was different. He posted a message that read, "No man should ever make my daughter feel afraid to be herself. I've kept quiet out of respect, but that ends now." Those words hit harder than any tabloid headline. They were a father's promise. Fans flooded his page with support. Even people who usually stayed out of celebrity drama were reposting his statement. Behind closed doors, things got ugly fast. Teyana's lawyers started drafting papers to limit Aaron's contact with her daughter. Aaron's team threatened to sue for defamation. Mutual friends picked sides. Some tried to mediate, saying that the little girl might have misunderstood Aaron's tone. Others said she had no reason to lie, that her words were too specific and too heartbreaking to be made up. The entire situation turned into a nightmare that nobody could wake up from. As the days passed, more details came out. People who had been around the family described small moments they'd witnessed. Aaron rolling his eyes when the little girl tried to show him her drawings. Aaron telling her to be quiet when she laughed too loud. Aaron reminding her over and over that she needed to be more mature. On their own, none of these moments sounded catastrophic. But when you added them all together, it painted a picture of a man who thought he knew better than everyone else, a man who didn't realize, or didn't care, that he was crushing a child's spirit in the process. Through it all, Teyana focused on her daughter. She stopped taking calls that weren't absolutely necessary. She pulled back from work commitments. People close to her said she spent hours sitting with her little girl, telling her that she believed her, that none of this was her fault, that she was brave for speaking up, and that she was loved. Those conversations were the only thing that mattered to Teyana. The rest, the headlines, the gossip, the public outrage, was just noise. The thing about children is that they don't have the same filters adults do. They don't know how to sugarcoat the truth or protect someone's reputation. They just say what they see. And what Teyana's daughter saw was a man who acted like he cared when other people were watching and acted very differently when they weren't. That's why her words felt so powerful. Because they were unpolished and honest in a way that no adult could match. As the story continues to unfold, everyone has an opinion. Some people think Aaron deserves a chance to explain himself. Others believe there's no excuse for making a child feel unsafe. But the most important thing to remember is this. While the adults are arguing, a little girl is just trying to understand why the person who was supposed to be kind to her wasn't. And no amount of PR statements or legal threats can erase that truth. This isn't just celebrity gossip. It's a reminder that children see everything. They see the moments you think are private. They hear the words you say under your breath. They feel the tension you try to hide behind forced smiles. And when they finally find the courage to speak up, it's because they've been carrying the truth alone for longer than anyone realized. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. Believe children when they tell you someone isn't who they pretend to be. Believe them the first time. Because the longer you wait, the more damage is done. And some of that damage doesn't ever fully heal. For Teyana, the road ahead is uncertain. She's facing the challenge of rebuilding trust, of helping her daughter feel safe again. She's learning, in the hardest way possible, that sometimes the people who look like saviors are the ones you need to protect your family from most. And for the little girl at the center of it all, she may not understand the headlines or the arguments, but she knows one thing for sure. She spoke her truth. And in the end, that truth was powerful enough to change everything.